Let's stop pretending women are impossible to understand. They're not. They're emotional creatures, beautiful, complex, yes. But trust me, there are cracks in the armor. And if you know where to look, you'll see exactly what makes them melt, what makes them chase, and yeah, what makes them stay up all night thinking about you. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about seeing the real stuff most men miss. Because while most guys are trying too hard, the smart ones, they're pressing on the right pressure points. The silent emotional triggers that hit deep. So in this video, we're diving into the top 9 female weaknesses every man must know. Some of these will surprise you, some will make you grin, and a few, you're gonna wish you knew them years ago. Let's go. No fluff, no filters. Just straight up stoic power meets primal understanding. Number 1. Confidence that doesn't ask for permission. Let's be real. Women are addicted to confidence, but not the loud, show-offy, look-at-me type. We're talking about that quiet, unshakable kind. The kind of confidence that walks into a room like it doesn't need applause. That doesn't ask, am I good enough? Because it already knows. That's the weakness right there. You see, most dudes chase validation. They drop compliments over text, try too hard to prove they're different. But women can sniff that out like blood in the water. Confidence that doesn't chase, that doesn't explain itself. That's rare and that's sexy as hell. It's the guy who doesn't flinch when she plays games. It's the guy who doesn't rush to fill silences. It's the man who speaks when he's ready, not when he's nervous. She may act tough. She may pretend she's in charge. But when a man stands his ground without ego, without effort, it short-circuits her brain. Why? Because her feminine energy wants to surrender to strength, not brute strength, emotional strength. The guy who can hold his own, take the lead and make her feel safe while doing absolutely nothing extra. He owns her thoughts without even trying. So don't try harder, stand taller, walk slower, speak less. Let your energy say what your mouth doesn't need to. That's her favorite weakness, and you don't even have to break a sweat. Number 2. Being understood without explaining everything. Here's the truth. Most women are exhausted from explaining themselves. They're tired of saying I'm fine and not being believed. Tired of men thinking every emotional moment means she's too much. Tired of not being seen. You want to know one of her biggest weaknesses? A man who gets it without her needing to spell it out. You don't have to be psychic, you just have to be present. Notice when she goes quiet. Feel when her tone changes. Read the room when her energy shifts. Most guys miss this. They're focused on what to say next instead of what she's feeling right now. But when you look at her pause and say something's off, talk to me when you're ready, that hits different. It tells her this man sees me, I don't have to perform with him. I can be soft here. And bro, that's where the walls fall. Because women don't fall in love with men who just impress them. They fall for the ones who make them feel understood. So don't force advice. Don't fix everything. Just feel her. That level of attunement. It's rare, and it's one of her deepest emotional weaknesses. Number 3. Masculine silence in the right moments. There's a difference between silence that feels like punishment and silence that feels like presence. The first one leaves people confused, defensive, even resentful. But the second, that's the kind of silence that makes you unforgettable. Because when a man masters silence not as withdrawal but as control, he doesn't just become more attractive. He becomes dangerous in the best way. See, most men don't understand silence. They fear it. They rush to fill every space in a conversation, especially when emotions are involved. If a woman pulls back, they chase. If she criticizes, they defend. If she tests them, they explain. But here's what they don't realize: when you react like that, you're showing her that you can be emotionally pulled like a puppet. A stoic man, on the other hand, knows the power of restraint. He's not cold. He's not dismissive. He's just not shaken. When tension rises, he doesn't meet chaos with more chaos. He meets it with calm. And sometimes that calm sounds like nothing. No defense, no explanation. Just stillness. That stillness, it speaks volumes. It says, I'm not playing this game. It says, I don't need to argue to know I'm right. It says, your emotions won't knock me off center. And trust me, women feel that deeply. Let me be clear, this isn't about shutting her out. This isn't the silent treatment which is toxic, petty, and rooted in fear. This is about remaining anchored when everything around you wants to pull you off course. It's about protecting your energy from manipulation, emotional noise, or traps that are meant to provoke a reaction. Picture this. You're having a heated conversation. She makes a passive-aggressive remark. In your gut, you feel the urge to react, to clap back, to prove a point. But instead of rising to it, you do something she didn't expect. You breathe. You stay quiet. You hold her gaze, but you don't bite. That moment, that's dominance. Not the kind that controls with force, but the kind that leads with presence. She feels it. And instead of continuing her spiral, she's drawn back into the moment, into your calm, into your leadership. Masculine silence in the right moment can stop a storm before it begins, because silence creates space. And in that space, people reflect. They become aware of their behavior. They question their own patterns. You don't have to say a word. The contrast between her emotional chaos and your grounded stillness is loud enough. That's the essence of masculine polarity. You're not trying to be mysterious for the sake of drama. You're holding back because you understand something deeper. Not every moment deserves your reaction. Some moments demand your restraint, and the more you practice this, the more she'll feel safe around you. Not because you're passive, but because you're powerful enough to stay still. And when you do speak, it hits harder. Because now your words aren't noise. They're rare, intentional, earned. So if you're someone who's always felt the need to explain, to justify, to fix every emotional flare-up in your relationship, it's time to shift. Start with silence, not out of spite, but out of strength. Let her lean into your stillness. Let her feel the weight of your calm. And don't be surprised when she starts following your lead, because a woman will always test to see where your limits are. She's not doing it to break you. She's doing it to find out if you can hold the frame when she can't. If you crumble, she'll feel the burden of having to lead emotionally. But if you stay centered, she'll trust you in a way she can't even explain. Masculine silence is earned, and it's built moment by moment when you choose not to react, not to chase, not to panic. When you choose to be the eye of the storm. And if this hit home, if you've been giving too much of your energy to conversations that didn't deserve it, to women who expected you to bend emotionally just to keep the peace, it's time to reclaim that power. So pause for a second, reflect, and type this below: I speak with presence. Now listen. In the next part, we're going to reveal a trait that looks like confidence but is actually a shield women use when they feel most insecure. Spotting this early will save you from emotional traps most men never see coming. Stick around, you'll want to hear it. Number 4. Deep eye contact that doesn't flinch. There's something primal about eye contact, not the kind that's brief or polite. Not the kind you use to make small talk or avoid awkward silence. I'm talking about deep eye contact, the kind that holds, the kind that lingers a second longer than expected, the kind that says, I see you fully, and I'm not afraid of what I see. That kind of eye contact. It's not just powerful, it's transformative. Most men look away too quickly. It's almost automatic. She looks at them and they flinch. They glance down. They shift their posture. Their mind races. Am I saying the right thing? Does she like me? What does that look mean? But women are incredibly sensitive to microsignals. And when you break eye contact too fast, you're signaling something: weakness, insecurity, a lack of self-trust. But when you can meet her eyes and hold steady, especially in emotionally charged moments, something changes. Because deep, unflinching eye contact does a few things at once. First, it grounds you. It forces you into the present. You can't fake eye contact, not that kind. It's like a mirror. If you're unsettled inside, she'll feel it in a second. But if you're calm, rooted unapologetically there, your eyes will tell the truth. Second, it pierces through her defenses. She might be trying to act tough. She might be testing you with attitude or aloofness. But when your gaze doesn't waver, you bypass the act and go straight to the core. Not with aggression, not with neediness, but with masculine stillness. Third, it changes the emotional tone. People expect reactions. They expect you to look away, to fluster, to overcompensate. But your steady gaze says, "I'm not here to impress. I'm here to observe, to feel, to understand." That's rare. And it disarms her in the most unexpected way. Now here's the key: the power of eye contact isn't in intensity, it's in presence. You're not trying to stare her down, you're not trying to dominate the moment, you're just there, fully. Nothing to hide, nothing to chase, just grounded awareness. That's where most men mess this up. They try to use eye contact as a tactic. They think if they hold it long enough, it'll create attraction. But if your energy is needy or performative, she'll feel it instantly. She won't say anything, but her body will tense. Her guard will go up. She'll sense that something is off. Because again, eye contact is a mirror. It reflects your state. If you're confident, it reflects confidence. If you're anxious, it reflects anxiety. If you're faking it, it reflects the lie. So the secret isn't in learning how to look confident. It's in becoming someone who doesn't flinch. That starts internally. When you hold eye contact, you're saying, "I don't need to escape this moment." That alone makes you different, because the world is filled with people running from vulnerability, from discomfort, from presence. But you face it. You look into her eyes and don't blink first. And that's not just attractive, that's rare, that's memorable. You want to leave an impression that lingers in her mind. Don't try to impress her with words. Look her in the eyes with stillness and let her feel your self-trust. She'll remember it long after the conversation ends. Now here's a challenge for you. The next time you're with someone, anyone, practice holding eye contact for 1 second longer than you normally would. Don't force it. Just allow the silence, allow the connection, and most importantly, observe what comes up inside you. That tension, that's where your growth is. And if this message hits somewhere real, if you know you've been the guy who looks down too fast, who breaks the moment because it's uncomfortable, now's the time to change that. Type this below: "I don't flinch." Because when you stop flinching, people stop treating you like someone who breaks under pressure. And hey, if you've felt the shift already, just wait. Because in the next part, we're going to unlock one of the most underestimated forces in attraction. It's not what you say. It's not what you do. It's what you withhold. And how that triggers her curiosity like nothing else. Stick with me. You're about to see why less is often more. Number 5. The need for mysterious depth. Let's be honest, most men misunderstand mystery. They confuse it with aloofness. They think being mysterious means being emotionally distant, vague, or hard to reach. So they play games. They withhold affection. They disappear and reappear to seem unpredictable. But here's the truth: that's not mystery. That's emotional immaturity wearing a mask. Real mystery doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from depth, a kind of internal richness that isn't broadcast but felt. You see, mystery isn't about what you hide. It's about what you don't feel the need to explain. It's about who you are beneath the surface, and how comfortable you are letting people discover that slowly. And to be honest, that's what women crave. Not a man who vanishes, but a man who feels like a book they haven't finished reading, one with chapters, tension, and meaning. Let's break this down through a Stoic lens. The Stoics believed in self-containment, not in a way that disconnects you, but in a way that keeps your identity from leaking everywhere. A Stoic man knows when to speak and when to withhold. He doesn't reveal everything because he understands that self-respect includes protecting your inner world. Now contrast that with the modern guy who overshares on the first date. He talks endlessly about his past, his pain, his goals, not because he's being authentic, but because he's trying to prove his worth through emotional exposure. That's not vulnerability. That's desperation disguised as openness. A man with mysterious depth does the opposite. He's open, but selectively. He listens more than he talks. He answers questions, but rarely more than what's necessary. And somehow, without trying, he pulls people in. Because he doesn't flood the room with his story, he gives just enough for you to wonder what's beneath it. That's magnetic. And here's why mystery creates space. And space allows the other person to engage their curiosity. In a world full of noise, a man who doesn't broadcast every detail becomes a riddle, and the human mind hates unresolved tension. We're wired to chase the answers, to seek the full picture. So when you hold a part of yourself back, not from fear, but from power, you naturally invite pursuit. Let me give you a real-world example. You're on a date. She asks about your past relationships. Instead of unloading every heartbreak, you pause, smile, and say, "Let's just say I've learned a lot, but I'd rather show you who I've become than tell you who I was." Boom. You've said everything and nothing. And now she's intrigued, not because you avoided the question, but because you answered it with intention, with control, with presence. That's depth. Another scenario, she asks what you do for a living. Most guys rattle off their resume. You. Keep it simple. I build things. Mostly things that help people solve quiet problems. And then you shift the focus back to her. You're not hiding, you're anchoring. You're showing that your identity isn't glued to a job title. It runs deeper. The Stoics believed that a man should be difficult to disturb, and that includes emotionally. A mysterious man doesn't just manage his words, he manages his energy. He chooses when to be expressive and when to be still, when to elaborate, and when to let silence speak louder. And because of that, every action he takes is more impactful. Women don't want constant access, they want earned access. To know that when you open up it means something, that there's a reason behind every word. So, if you've been the man who shares too much too fast, hoping to prove that you're real or deep, take a step back. Mystery isn't about becoming someone else. It's about subtracting what's unnecessary so your truth can speak more clearly. Let your actions reveal your values. Let your silence create space. Let your story unfold, not all at once, but like a novel worth finishing. And if this part of the message hits you, where it matters if you've been giving away your essence too easily, it's time to shift the energy. Type this below, I lead with depth. And get ready, because the next trait we're diving into is the most misunderstood masculine force of all. It's not dominance, it's not status. It's something that makes women feel emotionally safe and dangerously drawn to you at the same time. You don't want to miss what's next. Number 6. Her soft spot for a man with purpose, not just passion. Let's clear something up. A lot of guys think passion is enough. They think if they're intense enough, if they talk with fire in their voice, chase dreams, hustle non-stop, she'll be impressed. And sure, passion catches attention, but it doesn't hold it. Because passion without direction is chaos. It's energy without aim, fire without a fireplace. What she truly responds to is purpose. And no, they're not the same thing. Passion is what excites you. Purpose is what anchors you. Passion fluctuates, comes and goes. But purpose, it's steady. It's what keeps you going when passion fades. It's what gives your actions meaning beyond the moment. Here's what most men miss. Women don't fall for men just because they're ambitious. They fall for men whose ambition is aimed, focused, disciplined. A man with purpose moves differently. He doesn't waste time trying to convince others of his potential. He's too busy building something. His time has value. His attention has boundaries. He says no more often than yes because his mission comes first. And you might think that makes him less emotionally available, but it's the opposite. When a woman sees a man with purpose, something clicks inside her because she knows this man won't crumble under pressure. He won't lose himself trying to please me. He stands for something bigger than both of us. That's not just attractive. That's grounding. It makes her feel safe. And in a world full of men trying to impress with surface-level passion, talking loud, moving fast, chasing dopamine, a man with quiet purpose is a force of nature. Now let's bring Stoicism into this. The Stoic man doesn't chase validation. He's not addicted to results. He's committed to the process. He wakes up with a compass, not a clock. He asks himself, what must be done today? What is within my control? What deserves my energy? That mindset isn't just powerful, it's rare. It means you don't crumble when things go wrong. You don't lose yourself when a relationship shakes. You have a core that isn't built on her opinion of you. It's built on your alignment with something greater, something that won't vanish when the thrill fades. That kind of purpose is magnetic. Let's get practical. Let's say you're building a business or creating art or leading a team. That's great, but don't just do it for applause. Don't chase success to prove yourself. Build because it aligns with who you are. Work because it brings structure to your energy. Lead because it sharpens your discipline. When you live that way, you don't have to explain yourself. She'll feel it in your tone, your posture, your choices. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you seek approval, the more desirable you become, because she knows you're not here to be consumed, you're here to build, to serve something real. She's not just attracted to your fire, she's drawn to your direction. And if you've been all passion with no purpose, if you've been chasing energy spikes trying to keep her attention with excitement, it's time to shift. Because she'll feel the difference between a man who burns fast and one who burns steady. Purpose makes you steady. So here's your moment of reflection. What are you building that would matter even if no one clapped for it? What do you return to when the emotions fade and the noise dies down? That's your purpose. Start living from there. Let that guide your mornings, your boundaries, your energy. And the next time you speak with her, don't try to impress. Let your alignment speak. Let your discipline show. And if she's the right kind of woman, she'll feel it, she'll respect it, and more than that, she'll soften toward it. Because every truly feminine woman has a soft spot. For a man who doesn't just feel deeply, but builds clearly. Type this below, I move with purpose. Because when your life becomes more than a chase for passion, you stop being another thrill and start being the real thing. Stick around, because what's coming next isn't about strategy. It's about the one inner trait that silently draws her in, even when you say nothing at all. Number 7, her hidden yearning to be led without being controlled. Let's get this straight from the start. Most men either overdo this or avoid it entirely. They either try to dominate every move she makes, or they back off completely pretending leadership is toxic. But both approaches miss a deeper truth. Many women secretly yearn to be led not because they're weak, but because true leadership creates emotional safety. Now, let's be clear, she doesn't want to be bossed around. She doesn't want you micromanaging her life, making every decision, or using masculinity as a mask for control. That kind of behavior triggers resistance, not attraction. What she wants is to feel a man's direction, not because he demands authority, but because he radiates clarity. It's that powerful, grounded presence that says, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And I've got this even when things get messy. That's the kind of energy she can relax into. That's the kind of presence that makes her feel emotionally held. So how do you show that? Not through control, but through emotional leadership. This kind of leadership begins with self-mastery. You're not trying to lead her before you've learned how to lead yourself. A stoic man, the kind who earns deep respect, knows that leadership is first and foremost about inner discipline. Epictetus said it best, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Let that sink in. Leadership is being the calm in her storm without silencing her. It's choosing presence when she's spinning and refusing to mirror her chaos. It's guiding the emotional tone of a moment without needing to dominate the details. For example, she's frustrated, emotional, maybe even attacking. The weak man snaps, the passive man withdraws. But the emotionally grounded man, he listens, he breathes, he holds the tension. He says, I hear you. I'm not here to argue. Let's slow this down. That response shows emotional leadership. You're not controlling her, you're guiding the moment with composure. And that's what she craves more than dominance. Because here's the hidden truth. The feminine resents being controlled, but it longs to trust direction. It wants to lean on strength that doesn't fluctuate with every emotion or external event. If she can feel your centeredness, your self-command, your ability to stay calm without silencing her voice, she'll lean in. Not because you told her to, but because your presence makes it feel natural. So how do you cultivate that? You start by mastering your impulses. You stop trying to win emotional arguments and start asking, what energy does this moment really need from me? Most women have spent years leading themselves professionally, socially, emotionally. What they're secretly hungry for isn't a dictator. It's someone whose internal compass is so clear she can finally let go of the wheel without losing herself. That's not about being louder. It's about being firmer in spirit. Let's go practical. You're out with her. The night's getting chaotic. She's feeling overwhelmed. You take her hand and say, let's get some fresh air. Simple, calm, direct. You're not controlling her. You're leading her into emotional clarity. And she'll remember that not just as a moment, but as a feeling of safety tied to your presence. Or maybe she's spiraling over a decision. You listen, and then you say, here's what I'd do, but I trust you to choose. I've got your back either way. That kind of grounded input feels like leadership. Not because you gave her an answer, but because you stood in truth without pushing her to comply. The Stoics believed in leading by virtue, not force. And that's the real model here. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. You don't need to control more. You need to command your own energy so deeply that your presence guides the tone of the relationship. That's what makes her feel like she can trust you, not as a boss, but as a partner with a backbone. So, if you've been shrinking back afraid that leading will make you seem controlling, or worse, if you've been overstepping, mistaking volume for power, now's the time to reset. Because when you embody that rare, steady presence, you give her the one thing she can't find in the world of chaos. A man she doesn't have to resist to feel safe. Type this below, I lead through calm. And get ready, because in the next section we'll talk about a behavior that draws her attention without saying a single word. A quiet force that turns heads without ever asking for it. Number 8. Her vulnerability to words that paint new worlds. Let's talk about one of the quietest yet most powerful openings into a woman's emotional world. It's not your status. It's not your looks. It's not even your actions. It's your words. Not the empty ones. Not the flashy pickup lines or the overdone compliments. I'm talking about the kind of words that paint new realities. Words that awaken emotion, spark imagination, and gently lead her into a space she hasn't let many people see. Because here's what many men don't realize. Women are vulnerable to language that carries vision. It's not manipulation, it's connection. And when you speak from a place of grounded imagination, when your words aren't just noise, but a lens that reveals something deeper, that's when you stop being just another guy and become an experience. You see, women live in emotional landscapes. They feel in colors, metaphors, memories. So when you speak in ways that touch those inner visuals, not just facts and logic, but stories, tones, and texture, you bypass surface attraction and go straight to the emotional core. Let me show you what that looks like. You could say, "You look good tonight." Basic, expected. Now compare that to, "There's something about the way your presence shifts a room, like the energy calms down when you walk in." Suddenly it's not just about how she looks, it's about how she affects the environment. You've placed her in a larger frame. You've shown her a version of herself that maybe she's never fully seen. That's what I mean by painting new worlds. And it's not about being poetic for the sake of being smooth. It's about speaking from awareness, from presence, and from emotional insight. That's what Stoicism trains us to develop: deep internal clarity, so our words don't come from ego, but from intention. A Stoic man knows that words are tools. Used carelessly, they create confusion. Used consciously, they shape perception. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Now think about that in conversation. When you speak, you're coloring her inner world, even if just slightly. And when you consistently speak in ways that reflect beauty, strength, and vision without faking it, without selling anything, she starts associating you with that emotional palette. You become the man whose words open her, not by force, but by invitation. And the beauty of this, it doesn't require poetry. It just requires truth spoken vividly. Let's say she's telling you about a childhood dream she buried. The average guy might nod and move on, but you pause and say, "That version of you, that little girl who lit up talking about that dream, she still lives in you." Don't let the world keep her hidden. Boom. You didn't solve her problems. You didn't try to rescue her. You just saw her and described her in a way that painted a new possibility. That moment will stick. And no, it's not about being romantic 24/7. It's about being mindful of the weight your words carry. When you speak without presence, your words fall flat. When you speak with clarity and stillness, they cut through the noise. Women are deeply sensitive to language that reflects meaning, especially when that language invites them into growth, softness, or emotional expansion. This is also why a woman can remember something you said years ago if it touched something real in her, and why she can forget what you did last week if your actions had no emotional anchor. So the next time you speak to her, ask yourself, am I just making noise, or am I using my words to create depth, intimacy, or inspiration? Because when your words become doorways instead of just labels, she won't just hear you. She'll feel you, and that feeling will last far longer than anything you wear or post online. Type this below: I speak with vision, because when your voice becomes a space where she can feel seen, inspired, and grounded, you don't just get her attention, you shift the way she sees herself. Stick around, because in the next part we'll talk about the one masculine trait that speaks the loudest, even when you say nothing at all. Number 9. The unspoken need for a man who can walk away. Let's get real. There's a side of attraction nobody likes to admit, especially not out loud. It's uncomfortable, it's raw, but it's true. A woman deeply respects a man who can walk away, not because he threatens to, not because he's cold or detached, but because he doesn't need to stay where he's not valued. And that's the key. It's not about playing games. It's about holding self-worth so quietly, so firmly, that it reshapes the power dynamic without a single word. Now you might be thinking, but won't that make me seem unavailable? Won't she just walk too? Maybe. But if she does, she was never really with you in the first place. She was with the version of you that needed her approval. You see, emotional neediness is the fastest way to lose her respect. Women have a radar for men who tolerate disrespect, disinterest, or emotional breadcrumbs just to keep the connection alive. And every time you stay in a situation that dishonors your standards, she sees it, even if she never says a word. Why? Because deep down the feminine doesn't just crave love, it craves polarity, direction, boundaries, masculine certainty. And nothing shows that more clearly than a man who knows when to walk, not in anger, not in drama, but in quiet, unshakable self-respect. Let's be honest, we've all been there. You're emotionally invested. She's pulling back. You justify, you chase, you hope. But with every ignored text, every excuse, every moment she pulls you out of your frame, you lose a piece of yourself. And ironically, the more you try to hold on, the less she feels pulled toward you. But here's the shift. When you reclaim your center, when you stop negotiating your value and start protecting your energy, something flips. She feels the distance. She feels your absence not as punishment but as presence withdrawn. And if she truly respects you, that absence becomes loud. Because here's the unspoken truth. A woman can't admire a man who's afraid of losing her. She may appreciate the attention. She may enjoy the chase. But admiration, the kind that builds long-term attraction, only grows when she knows you can choose her, but you don't need her. That's the stoic frame. You don't chase outcomes. You focus on your principles. You show up with heart, but never at the cost of your self-respect. Seneca wrote, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think of you, you will never be rich." Let that land. Because when you act from lack, from fear, from emotional survival, you give your power away. But when you stand still in your worth, even when it costs you something, you reclaim everything. And sometimes that means walking, not as a threat, but as a reminder to both of you of who you are. It's in those moments she sees what kind of man you are. The kind who doesn't argue for his value, the kind who lets go when respect is gone, the kind who isn't moved by emotion alone but by clarity. And guess what? That kind of man doesn't just get women chasing, he gets women respecting, because he's not addicted to approval, he's devoted to truth. So what does this look like practically? She flakes again, she pulls back emotionally. She starts sending mixed signals. You don't beg, you don't lash out. You step back. You stop initiating. You don't fill the silence with need. You let her feel the weight of losing your presence, and maybe she comes back, maybe she doesn't. But either way, you stay rooted in your worth, because your dignity doesn't depend on how she responds. It depends on how you honor yourself. So, if you've been tolerating less than you deserve, if you've been holding on out of fear instead of walking away in strength, this is your turning point. She'll never say it outright. But the moment she senses that you can walk away, that's when she realizes she doesn't want you to. Type this below. I walk with worth, and stay tuned. Because in the final section we'll explore one last weakness most men never notice. A soft spot so hidden it only appears in front of men who've mastered emotional independence. Number 10. Her softness only rises when your energy makes space for it. Let's wrap this up with something subtle, something most men miss, even the smart ones. You can do everything right. Lead with strength, speak with vision, show presence, discipline, confidence. But still, she won't soften. She'll keep her guard up, stay busy, talk fast, stay edgy. And you'll wonder, am I not enough? Here's the truth. Her softness isn't a performance, it's a response. And it only rises when your energy makes space for it. You don't force her into it. You don't demand vulnerability. You don't expect her to be feminine on command. Because here's what most men don't understand. Softness requires safety, not physical safety, emotional safety. And emotional safety begins with one thing: stillness, your grounded presence. When you walk into a room and your energy says, "Nothing you do will shake who I am," that's when she starts to let go. Think about it. She's spent years building walls. She's been told to hustle, to prove herself, to protect herself. She's seen men react, manipulate, get passive-aggressive, explode, withdraw. So when you come along and you're just calm in how you look at her, calm in how you listen, calm in how you hold space when she's spiraling, that's when her nervous system exhales. And in that silence, not the awkward kind, but the rooted kind, she softens. But you can't fake it. If your calm is just an act to get something in return, she'll feel it. If your composure is really suppression, she'll push against it. But when your calm comes from a place of true internal command, when you've done the work, when you've tamed your own mind, that's when her softness comes out. Not as a trick, as trust. This is why Stoicism matters, because it teaches you not to be emotionless, but to be emotionally untouchable. Not because you don't care, but because you've trained yourself not to react out of fear or ego. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." That's what she's testing for without even knowing it. Can you hold your ground, not in resistance, but in peace? Because when a man doesn't flinch, when he doesn't need to dominate, when he doesn't fold into her emotions or try to fix them too fast, he creates space. And that space is where her softness lives. Now here's the secret. Her softness isn't for every man. She won't offer it just because you're nice, or strong, or even respectful. She offers it when you've earned it, not by chasing, not by proving, but by being the kind of man who holds silence like it's sacred, the kind who listens without needing a solution, the kind who remains composed when her emotions flood the room, not to dismiss her, but to give her something stable to lean on. And when you do that, something shifts. She touches your arm in a way that says, "I feel safe here." She shares something deeper, not to test you, but to meet you. She stops trying to control every detail, because for the first time in a long time she can let go without collapsing. You want to unlock her softness, then be the silence her chaos respects. Be the calm that doesn't chase. Be the strength that doesn't flex. Be the man who doesn't need to win the moment, because he's mastered himself beyond it. At the end of the day, she doesn't need you to be perfect. She just needs to know that when her world shakes, yours won't. That's when her softness shows up. That's when she lets the armor fall. That's when you stop being a man she's intrigued by and become a man she can trust with her most hidden self. Not because you told her to, but because your energy made space for it. Type this below: I create safe space. So here's what it all comes down to. You don't need tricks. You don't need to perform. You just need to become the kind of man who leads with presence, not pressure, who speaks with vision, not noise, who walks with quiet strength, not loud desperation. Because the truth is, the more you master your inner world, the more magnetic your outer presence becomes. And the deeper you understand her unspoken needs, the less you ever have to chase anything. Not attention, not validation, not love. Thanks for riding with me through this one. If any part of this video hit you deep, don't just watch and scroll. Do something with it. Apply it. Live it. Let it challenge how you show up. And if you're new here, or you've been around, but haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the time. There's more coming, and it only gets better from here. See you in tomorrow's video.